أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له. I'm going to start this khutbah this morning from the Bible. Maybe strange, but God tells us at the beginning of Quran that we must believe in previous scriptures. And the Bible is 90% truth, 10% distortions, and unfortunately, most people take the 10% distortion and make it the doctrine of the church. So we have the Quran as the criterion to correct any deviations. I'm going to read from Genesis 6:11. It says, "In the eyes of God, the earth was corrupt and full of lawlessness. When God saw how corrupt the earth had become, since all mortals led depraved lives on earth, he said to Noah, I have decided to put an end to all mortals on earth. The earth is full of lawlessness because of them, so I will destroy them and all life on earth. Make yourself an ark." So the idea is when there's too much lawlessness on earth, disobedience of God, and non-adherence to the oneness of God, God destroys the earth. And I want to use this to point out to you that you probably saved the earth. You, because you are people who believe in God alone, you do not idolize Muhammad or Jesus or Mary or any saint or anyone or anything. You, because you have reached the conviction that God alone is king, and God alone rules the world and rules your life, every minute detail in it. Nobody controls your life. You have come to this conviction. You know that your boss has no authority on you. God controls the minds and hearts of everybody, including the people around you. Your boss, your spouse, your children, your parents, everybody. You've come to that conclusion. Back in 1977, did we start the mosque in 77 or 78? 78? No. 78. This mosque was established because we came to the conclusion that Quran, like God says, is the only source. This is why this mosque started. But before that, we want to look together on the earth. Now God looked at the earth in Noah's time and he said, nobody believes in God alone and there is too much lawlessness. So I'm going to destroy the earth and wipe out everybody. That's what God said. We have it in the Quran and we have it in the Bible. Now, of all the millions of Christians you see on earth, how many believe in God alone? How many believe that Jesus is a human being who has no power to do anything, a helpless, dead person? How many of the Christians believe that and worship God alone? Of all the millions. Of all the millions of Muslims on earth, how many believe God when he says Quran alone? How many? How many mosques on earth say Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah without any other names in the adhan? How many? None. You very probably saved the earth because everybody was corrupt. How many Jews adhere to the book of God alone and do not follow hadith and sunnah? How many? None. They all follow hadith and sunnah. They don't follow the Torah. Exactly the words hadith and sunnah. They call it in their language. It's called the Mishnah, which means oral or hadith, and Gemara, which means traditions or sunnah. Mishnah and Gemara. They follow the Mishnah and Gemara. They do not follow the Torah. So these are the people who believe in God. And they were all corrupt. They are all corrupt. It probably was a blessing from God that I worked for the United Nations and traveled in every Muslim country. And everywhere I dug up the most religious of every country, and haven't seen one place that does not praise and worship Muhammad day and night instead of God or beside God. I mean, they worship God and they pray the 5 prayers exactly to God, but they insert names of Muhammad and Ibrahim in their prayers. I haven't seen one place on earth that worships God alone. When corruption takes over the earth, there's no need for the earth to exist. The end of the world will come because there will be no one who worships God alone. But it has been in God's knowledge and predestination that the Mosque of Tucson will come to be. The people will worship God alone. This is the only mosque on earth that says Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, without any other names. By the way, we had 3 people here. You saw me discuss things with them, and they were angry because in our adhan, we say Ashhadu. Guess why they were angry? Can anybody make a guess? Who said that? Yeah, because they didn't say Muhammad? You're wrong. No, because we didn't mention the name of Ali in adhan. They happen to be Shias. We don't say Ashhadu anna Aliyan waliyullah. To each his idol, you know. So, I mean, when they didn't like our adhan, I was just like Fatima. I thought, yeah, well, we only mentioned the name of Allah alone. But they went on to indicate it was because Ali's name was not there. But this is the only mosque in the world that mentions the name of Allah alone, and worship Allah alone in our dhikr. I joined the dhikr on every spot on earth. There isn't any dhikr that has only the name of God. And when corruption spreads in this way, God destroys the earth. I want you to look at in the Quran at Surah 30, verse 41. That is page 278. Verse 41 says, corruption has prevailed throughout the land and sea due to the people's work. In my new translation, I'm going to have this misery instead of corruption, misery. Therefore, he makes them suffer. Well, it's self-explanatory. He makes them suffer the consequences of their works, that they may return. It's very, very possible that you saved the earth. Do you hear what's happening in California? Did you see what happened to Malibu Beach? All those mansions turned into sticks. This is God. God is angry at California. This is California from border to border, from Mexico to Oregon. It's being slammed, hit. Unbelievable, the pictures that you saw. It is believable, of course. God is angry at California. As we see in the Bible, in the Quran, and God's law never changes. Back in 1977, there was no one on earth, that I know of anyway, that worshipped God alone. They always had idols beside him. You look at the Christians, the Jews, the Muslims. And it is an unfortunate fact of life, which I want to show you in the slide. Can you turn the light off? This is a statement in the Quran. It says the majority of people, no matter what you do, will not believe. Are not believers. And this statement here says the believers, the majority of people will not even believe in God. And then you take the minority, that is the believers, and God says a statement of fact that is assured by two double negatives. That the majority of the minority, the majority of the believers are idol worshippers. Mushrikun, idol worshippers. They worship God, but they also idolize Muhammad or Jesus or Mary or somebody or something. They just cannot come all the way to La ilaha illallah, to worshiping God alone. So if you are with the majority, you're in deep trouble. Even if you are with the majority of the minority. If you are with the minority of believers, you have to find out, are you in the majority of this minority or are you in the minority of the minority? You're elite of the elite. And it's very difficult. Problem is, these people who are believers but they fell into idol worship, they think they are righteous. They sincerely think they are righteous. As we see up here, they think that they are rightly guided. They think that they are rightly guided. They think they are rightly guided. Repeated in the Quran. And here this is a verse that we're familiar with on the Day of Judgment, where they say, by God our Lord, we were not idol worshippers. On the Day of Judgment, face to face with Allah. And they swear that they were not idol worshippers. If you still have the same page, 41, I'm going to go on to 42, this page 278. Say, travel the earth and see the consequences for those before you. Or look at California, in other words. The majority of them were idol worshippers. Therefore, you shall devote yourself to the perfect religion before a day comes that is inevitable. On that day, the people will be stunned. Whoever disbelieves causes his own detriment, and those who work righteousness do so for their own good. God bestows his grace upon those who believe and work righteousness, while those who disbelieve are displeasing him. When you come to La ilaha illallah, you come all the way to La ilaha illallah, you deserve a fantastic reward. Because as you see, you are a very small minority of the minority. You're a very special person when you come to La ilaha illallah. And Satan will concentrate all his forces on you. He does not want you to make it. Because when you make it, making it means kingship on earth, sovereignty on earth, and ruling all your surroundings, perfect happiness in this world and in the hereafter. And that's nothing easy. I mean, to qualify for a job, you go to the university and work your head off for 4 years to qualify for a job. So to qualify for kingship on earth, what do you expect? It's very difficult. And this is why, let's look at 29:2, Surah 29, page 270. ALM, do the people think they will be left to say we believe without being put to the test? We have tested the generations before them, for God must distinguish those who are truthful from those who are liars. You cannot be left, you will not be left alone to say I believe. You have to be put to the test, and it is a severe test because there is too much at stake. There's kingship on earth at stake. There's perfect happiness. So you'll have to be put to the test because God wants to show you to the angels and to tell them, look at my creature. Under any circumstances, he believes in me. Look at Surah 12. 38. Let's start at 38. Surah 12, 38. Page 158. This is Joseph speaking. I follow the religion of my fathers Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. We never worship anything beside God. This is but grace from God upon us and upon the people, but most people are not appreciative. Now, let's go on 39. O my prison companions, is it better to have several idols or one God, the most powerful? You only idolize beside God idols that you make up, you and your parents. God never places any power in them. Kingship belongs only to God. He commanded that you shall not worship except Him. This is the perfect religion, but most people do not know. Now here is Joseph preaching one God and worshiping one God. And where is he? In prison. He is a prophet of God in prison. Because God wants to show the angels and Satan that look at my servant Joseph. Look at my creature Joseph. It doesn't matter what condition he's in. He knows I am the king. And he worships me alone. Look at 42. He then said to the one to be saved, remember me at your Lord, the king. But the devil made him forget to remember him at his Lord, and Joseph remained in prison a few more years. A prophet of God, Joseph, who preaches the one God. And just like that, a few more years in prison. Some people come to me and say, I've been a Muslim 2 weeks. Why am I having all these problems? Patience. You have to have patience. Here is Joseph in prison, and the man who was supposed to save him, he forgot, so Joseph stays in prison a few more years. But listen, you're guaranteed kingship on earth. Let us go on to 90, verse 90, same surah of Joseph. What does 90 say? Page 162. They said, you must be Joseph. This is his brothers. He said, I am Joseph, and this is my brother. God has been gracious to us. If anyone works righteousness and steadfastly perseveres, this is required, patience, steadfastness, perseverance. You can't come to Islam 6 months and then demand kingship on earth. You must steadfastly persevere. You must prove that you really believe under any circumstance. You have to be put to the test. But you are in God's eyes throughout the test. He may push you to the brink, but He will always watch over you. You will never fall. Because if you fall, He'll hold you back. But you will be on the brink, because God wants to be proud of you. And He wants to tell Satan and the angels, look at my creature, doesn't matter what conditions he's in. Now look at 110 of the same surah. Page 164. Just as the messengers reach the point of despair and imagine that they have failed, our victory comes to them. We then save whomever we will, while the guilty can never evade our retribution. So when you reach the point of despair, you're a believer in God alone, nothing changes your conviction, then comes kingship on earth. Joseph was a king on earth, and he was controlling the provisions for the whole Middle East. His brothers came from Palestine all the way to Egypt to beg for grain, and he was giving them a camel load per person. He decided that. He was in full control of that. He was a king on earth. His brothers, his parents, they fell prostrate before him. He became, this is what is guaranteed to you. But you have to steadfastly persevere. You have to prove yourself. What happens in the test, it's an agreement that God has with Satan. He says, you go and do anything you want, and if you can take them, they're yours. Now Satan is our most ardent enemy. And when you come to La ilaha illallah, he will come and tempt you with your most urgent needs. If you need money, he will tempt you with money. If you need sex, he will tempt you with sex. If you need whatever is your most urgent need, he will tempt you with that to take you away from La ilaha illallah. And if you fall, his bait is delicious and powerful. The bait for the fish must be the best. You go and when you go fishing, you pick out the best bait. Salmon, eggs. Well, let's find something better. Worms, whatever. The bait must be fantastic for the fish. But as soon as you catch the fish, what do you do to it? You cut its head and you fry it in oil. You take its intestines out. This is what Satan will do to you. Once he has you, because he's our enemy. So the test is very powerful. This is why Job said the following in Surah 38. Look at Surah 38, verse 41. 38, 41, top of page 312. Recall our servant Job. He called his Lord, saying, the devil has afflicted me with disease and suffering. So it's not God who really afflicted him. See what happened, as we learn from the story of Job, is that God was proud of Job. And he was telling the angels and Satan, look at my servant Job. He worships me alone. You know, they're very rare people. The people who worship God alone are very rare. And God was proud of Job at the time. And he was telling the angels, look at my servant Job. And Satan said, well, look at him. He's rich, he has a family, he's not under any pressure, so why shouldn't he worship you? And God said, okay, I'm going to lend you Job for a while. Now remember, Job is always in God's eye. And Satan has limits where he can go. So Satan started to work on Job. And this is why you see, recall our servant Job, he called his Lord, saying, the devil has afflicted me with disease and suffering. He knows. See, Job knows. And so God may lend you to Satan for a while. And if Satan can take you, you're his. Just like when you catch a fish. He's going to fry you. You must steadfastly persevere, and you cannot flunk a test. And when you flunk a test, you regress. You start again at square one, square zero. So we have to turn to God right now and do two things. First, thank Him for saving the planet Earth because of us. Thank Him for guiding us. Whatever led our steps to this place, me and you, this is the greatest blessing that ever happened to you. And we have to thank God for it. And then we're going to ask God to keep us on the path. Steadfastly persevere, no matter what happens. Steadfastly persevere. La ilaha illallah. Nothing will take us away. Tubu ilallah. Repent. الحمد لله وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له. I have been talking in the last khutbahs about situations in the hereafter, actual situations in the hereafter. And in my last khutbah I talked to you about the verse that you saw here, where God gathers people and asks them, what are the idols to help you? And they say, by God our Lord, we were not idol worshippers. It's an actual situation where people are not aware now. They'll swear to you they are not idol worshippers. And they'll swear then on the day of judgment that they are not idol worshippers. They are not aware. And I went through the signs of idol worship. That they cannot stand to talk about Allah alone. They cannot follow the Quran alone, 1745. And they cannot accept what God says in the Quran. When He says Muhammad was astray and when guided, I have read the translation for you. Incredible, wasn't it? They changed his straying into a virtue. That he was lost in love for people, for his people, whatever that crazy translation was. And I will continue that situation of actual situations in the hereafter. Uh, in this khutbah and in the next khutbah. This is a human being. This was a human being. Someday you're going to look like this. Someday you'll look like this. Just imagine handsome Abdullah. He's going to look like this someday. Beautiful Rahima will look like this someday. For some people like myself, this is an improvement. This person had beautiful teeth. See, look at the teeth.
He needed braces.
Now, this is a person that lived on earth, just like we are now. And you can imagine how many times the judge was eating. And this happens to be a girl. And she, can you imagine how many times she chewed food? You can look, you can see the teeth, how much the food affected her teeth. She probably worked. She had a boss. She ate lots of food. She drove a car, maybe. She had fights with her friends, relatives. She yelled at them. She made love. I don't know how many miles she walked. But this was a person. You're going to be like this someday. Your body will be like this. Now, I want to draw your attention to God's design. Imagine God designing the skull, just the skull. Imagine, just for the sake of understanding, imagine God like a big architect, chairman of the board, and a big desk, and designing the human skull. And God says, I'm going to leave 2 openings for the eyes, because this human being will have 2 eyes. And we have to have an opening in here for the air to breathe. The air in there. Now, the eyeballs will go in this hole. So God says, I'm going to have these eye sockets. And if you look in there, you see very tiny holes inside for the nerve, the optic nerve to go through to the brain. And we're going to have, if you look in here and see the sinus passages, and the teeth is something else, the design of the teeth, and the cutters and the chewers. An opening for the ear in here, see the small opening on the side for the ear to hear, leads to the audio nerve going to the brain. And this is very hard, to protect the brain. Then put the brain inside. Let's see, this opens. Now God didn't put these things on there, the spring. Nobody else did that. My goodness, see, this is very tough. It's made of a number of layers. You can see the layers there. This was a human being. Look what we're doing with her. The brain is protected in fluid, because it's very important. And then see the opening at the bottom of the skull. This goes to the spine. Everything, all the body is controlled this way. Excuse me. Now I want to move on to a situation in the hereafter. This person, this was the garment that this person was wearing. But the person herself is asleep. She doesn't know that she died. Resurrection, and then this person, let us say she's an average Christian. or an average Muslim, for that matter, an average Jew who fell into idol worship. So she would get up, she would rise there. Resurrection, all the people on earth who existed on earth will be up on this earth, resurrected. And this person will say, oh God, it's true. Gosh, everything we heard is true. There's really resurrection. I didn't pay attention to this day. And look at that big person over there. See, she'll have a small size, but the body of the hereafter. And she would go to this big person and she said, how did you get like that? And he would say, well, for one thing, I never missed breakfast, the Fajr prayer. And she would say, well, I didn't miss breakfast either. You know, eggs and bread. And the other fellow would say, yeah, but you were feeding your garment. You didn't feed. How's my acting, by the way? Not bad, is it? I should have also the voice tone, you know, like, oh, maybe that thing. Well, just don't call Hollywood. I'm happy in my position. I don't want the directors bugging me about going. But this is an actual situation where people will be in different sizes. And then she will ask, what is going to happen now? You would say, well, the next thing that will happen is God will come to this earth. And the energy associated with God is equivalent to millions of hydrogen bombs. Can you imagine this earth with a million hydrogen bombs falling on it? What will happen? See, this is why God taught us nuclear science. This is why God let us invent hydrogen bomb, so we can understand what happens when He comes. This is what the Quran says. And that big person will go on and say, when God comes, you can't stand it. First of all, the energy associated with God is equivalent to millions of hydrogen bombs. And when God comes, this whole earth is going to shatter into pieces. Like a million hydrogen bombs fell on it. The stars would crash and disintegrate. And you are going to be in bad trouble. You cannot stand the presence of God. So she would say, what will you do? You'd say, I'm going to feed on that energy. I'm going to enjoy it immensely. And as soon as God comes, we're going to be stratified into ranks. You will have to run away to hell. This will be actual conversations. And she would say, well, I'm going to run to Jesus and see if he can help me. Because I believed in Jesus. And she may go to Jesus and he would say, I'm in deep trouble myself. I hope I'm going. We're all in hell right now. The initial resurrection is in hell. I can't help you. God is the one who created you. God is the one who provided for you. God is the one who terminated your life. God is the one who resurrected you. And God is the one who will hold you to account. If this person were a Muslim, she would say, I'm going to run to Muhammad. He's my shafi'ah. He's my intercessor. And Muhammad will tell them, sorry, can't help you. You have to believe in God alone. That day is going to come. See, this person lived here on earth. And she did everything you are doing now. And you're going to be like this person someday. 100 years from now. You may not look this good, by the way. This looks very good. She did have beautiful teeth. So we must, in order to stay on the path, we must remember those actual situations that will be here. And this is why God puts belief in the hereafter next to him. They're both required. You cannot make it. You can believe in God and still go to hell. You saw the slide? The majority of people who believe in God are going to hell. You must believe in God and in the hereafter. You must never neglect to feed your soul. Because this is what the body will look like. And people like myself will play around with it. You know, she didn't know that, did she? Somebody will play with my skull someday. You know, I don't care. It's a garment that I throw away. Remember your old clothes to give away? Do you care who's doing what with them now? Your body is just like that. Old clothes. Old garment. So, if you neglect to feed your soul, it's your own fault. The 5 prayers each day, those are your 5 meals. The 5 prayers are useless if you idolize anyone else besides God. God must be the only one, not number 1. Because number 1 means there is number 2. God must be the only one in your life. اللهم اغفر للمؤمنين والمؤمنات والمسلمين والمسلمات والاحياء منهم والاموات وكفر عبادتك وطاعتك وحدك يا رب العالمين. عباد الله ان الله يامر بالعدل والاحسان وايتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون. اقم الصلاه. We spend their money as a child of God. It's like a seed that grows into 7 ears with 100 seeds in each ear. God multiplies the rewards manifold for whoever he wills. God is bounteous, omniscient. So this is the self-explanatory. It's the minimum reward for charitable actions. For every dollar you spend, you get 700 minimum. Not necessarily, you don't get it back necessarily in dollars. And maybe necessarily you get it in dollars, but you also get it in health and happiness. So you come with the means to enjoy it. 262, those who spend their monies in the cause of God and do not follow their charity with reproach or insult, will receive the recompense from the Lord. They have nothing to fear, nor will they grieve. What we're seeing here is the etiquette for charity. A lot of people may give assistance to somebody and then hurt the feelings later on without necessarily saying the word. But they hurt them and they make them never forget it. I helped you one time, don't you ever forget it. And God says, it's better even not to make such a charity. Those who spend their monies in the cause of God and do not follow their charity with reproach or insult will receive the recompense from the Lord. They have nothing to fear, nor will they grieve. In another verse, if I don't remember exactly the word now, it says, it's the next one, 263. The kind words and compassion are better than a charity which is full of insult. So, better to be kind and compassionate than to help someone and then make them never forget by insulting them. God is bounteous, clement. The idea is that the money that we have is not really ours. Something that God is lending to us. It is God's money. He said you spend on yourself and you also give to charity. So, 264. O you who believe, do not nullify your charity by reproach and insult. If you do, you will be like one who spends his money only to show off, while disbelieving in God and the last day. His parable is like a useless rock, covered with a thin layer of soil. When heavy rain falls, it leaves it solid. They harvest nothing from their effort. God does not guide the disbeliever. I'm going to read it again, 264. O you who believe, do not nullify your charity by reproach and insult. So this charity that's followed by hurting people's feelings are like somebody who's being charitable while disbelieving in God. It's all in vain. Some people are very charitable. They help a lot of people. They build hospitals, have charitable organizations, but they don't believe in God. And all their works are in vain. Because our existence here, we are here not to be charitable. We are here to worship God. So charity must be a form of worship in obedience to God's commandments. 265. And the parable of those who spend their monies seeking God's pleasure and through their own convictions. Ketut, we need your phone number. We were looking for your address and phone number all over the place. Back to 265. And the parable of those who spend their money seeking God's pleasure and through their own convictions is that of a garden on high and deep soil. When heavy rain falls, it gives double the crop. If heavy rain is not available, a light rain would suffice. God is seer of everything we do. See, the Quran teaches the principles of agriculture. If you want good land, you have to make sure that it is deep and high. And of course, there must be enough water supply. 266. Would any of you wish to own a garden of date palms and grapes with flowing streams and all kinds of fruit? Then as he gets old and his children are still weak, the garden gets stricken with a holocaust and burns it up. God thus explains the revelation for you that you may reflect. Again, this is emphasizing that when you help somebody, you don't keep rubbing it in the nose. 267. O you who believe, you shall spend in charity from the good things you earn and from what we produce for you from the earth. Do not pick out the inferior thereof to give away. When you would not accept it for yourself unless your eyes are closed, you should realize that God is rich, worthy of all praise. So this defines for us what are the things that count for charity. Give away all clothes that you don't need anymore, that's not charity. Just to actually looking for disposal of your old clothes. Instead of throwing them in the garbage, giving them away to something. Charity must be as good as the things you have. Of course, it doesn't mean you don't give away your old clothes to poor people. You give it away, but you don't count it as part of the zakat or charity, or that's charity at all. It's not charity at all. Actually, that person may be doing you a favor by getting rid, helping you get rid of the old clothes. 268. The devil promises you only poverty and exhorts you to commit evil works, while God promises you forgiveness from him and blessing. God is bounteous, omniscient. He bestows wisdom upon whomever he wills, and whoever is endowed with wisdom is endowed with a great bounty. That is because those who possess intelligence are the ones who take heed. So what do we understand from this whole section? Is the etiquette for charity. Muscle from among the best things you have. And you get 7,000% return. And you do it and forget it. You do it and you forget it. You never bring it up again. You don't tell other people, you tell the recipients again. And as we see in the next verse, 270, if you keep it secret, it's even better. Because it implies that you believe in God. You know that God saw you. But if you don't keep it secret, you tell people around you, then you're showing off. You're reaping some kind of reward by not keeping it secret. Let's read 270. Whatever charity you give or a vow you make, God is fully aware thereof. The wicked will find no help in it. If you declare your charities, they are still good. But if you conceal them and give them secretly to the poor, it would be better for you and would remit more of your sins. God is fully cognizant of everything you do. So, this is where I stop and somebody else will take over. Do you have any questions in this section so far? No, for sure, it was not. That doesn't. This is you're dealing with ultrasound. You don't know who you give it to, right? Yeah. I mean, how many people read your text and share?
Just like, they don't even know who you are, it's just a computer.
Right.
Totally impersonal.
So how many people do you know read your IRS return?
Doesn't this really mean if you go around and pretend like you're a big giver, you know?
Yeah, if there is any show off or you reap any benefits, that reduces the benefits that God has for you.
Doesn't it also show a lack of faith in the hereafter in a way, because you're getting the benefits, you think you're going to get all the benefits you can in this life.
Yep.
So, you know, it's lack of faith.
When you keep it secret, I said, empty testimony, you should believe in God, believe in the reward in the hereafter.
Probably the same as in many hospitals actually, some rooms is donated for appreciation. Appreciation is very
Right. And they demand that.
You definitely can know it. It has to be in grass and it has to be very good.
Sometimes they do it themselves. I should see the publication like that today. Someone who's distributing a publication about himself and his life, history and his genealogy, all the way to the Prophet Muhammad. And he calls himself the champion and what?
Oh gosh, I can't remember. Strong man.
Yeah, champion and strong man of
Of
Singapore.
Malaysia. Of Malaysia, not just Singapore. You can all say it. I'll say that. You shouldn't say it, no. You just don't know who it is. It was one of those.
Rashid, you want to take the next what did God like?
You could never guide anyone. God is the only one who guides in accordance with his will. Any charity you give away is for your own good. Any charity